Welcome everyone. We're gonna get started.
There's a few more seats. You guys want to sit? First in here. You know you want your hat.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Aaliyah. I'm a senior business administration and creative writing double major and a poet. And this semester I'm an intern for the Hartwick Institute of Public Service. The Hartwick Institute of Public Service, the sponsor of today's event, was founded a year and a half ago with the goal of engaging young people in our democracy, working with local government to make our city and our region an even better place to live, attend college, and work, and inspiring a new generation of public servants. As a public service intern, I have had the opportunity to attend Oneonta Mayor Mark Drink's State of the City address and to speak with Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado when he was on campus earlier this month.
I'm Hallie. I'm a junior and a triple major in sociology, public health, and art. This semester, I've also had the opportunity to serve as an intern for the Hartwick Institute of Public Service. As a public service intern, among many other things, I have used our campus's free subscriptions to the New York Times and the Daily Star, programs pioneered by the Institute of Public Service to start following news related to our community and local government. I have also had the opportunity to participate in the local government fair before Lieutenant Governor Delgado's talk, where I got to meet with a member of Oneonta Common Council members and members of the Otsego County Board of Representatives. I wanted to mention that this event today is in honor of Judith Day, whom the Day Apartments were named after. Judith Day was a wife of Hartwick College graduate, trustee, and inaugural member of the Hartwick Institute of Public Service Leadership Council. She served in local government and as a representative in the New Hampshire State Legislature. She was also a passionate public servant, deeply committed to making her community and state a better place. Today we are going to have a panel featuring three remarkable individuals, all of whom are involved in public service, on making our communities and our state better places, but in different ways. After the panel, we will be breaking into groups for some gender and power trivia for prizes. And now we will introduce our panelists. The first panelist is Jasmine Ahmed, class of 24, volunteer organizer at Columbia County Sanctuary Movement, which organizes immigrants and allies to build a base, create different service infrastructure, and support a political home for immigrants.
The next person is Jennifer Gibner. She graduated in 1999, and she is the Chief Media and Government Relations Officer at the New York State Thruway Authority. She has worked in the public sector for more than 25 years for various New York State and New York City agencies, including in press offices as an appointee for 4 governors and 2 attorney generals. And finally, we have Will Rivera, Managing Director of My Own Image, focused on combating technology-facilitated gendered violence and image-based sexual abuse, specifically through state-level policy changes in public education. Please join us in welcoming our speakers.
And now I'll turn it over to you guys. We'll go in alphabetical order the way you were introduced if you want. Or if you want to change it up, that's fine.
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Jasmine. This is actually my first ever panel. A year ago I was on the other side and seeing the panel. So, pardon me if I'm not really great at this. So I'm the volunteer organizer at Columbia County Sanctuary Movement. We work together alongside with immigrants and allies to foster a safe environment in Columbia County, especially with everything that's going on in politics right now. Right now we have been training our allies and knowing our rights as U.S. citizens and what we can do to support our immigrant communities, as well as ensuring that we are providing the right resources that our migrant families need as well. One of the important things I would say working in a nonprofit and working alongside with local government is you really get to see the people that you are impacting, the communities that you're working with, as well as seeing like the legislative work that is going to be impacting the communities. And it's just really empowering to see how it takes a lot from both ends of the politics and the communities to be opening up to the resources that we need to provide and to help each other. I'll pass it off to you.
Sounds great. I'm not allowed to walk around. Where's the video guy?
You can walk around.
I'm a walk-arounder kind of person.
You can walk around,
All right.
right?
I'm Jennifer Jen Givner. Graduated here a long, long time ago. Another tree. 1999. I played softball, so nice job, ladies. Glad to see the team is back. I was in Phi Sig. Where'd she go? There she is, right in front of me. And I did a lot of things. What's that? Another one?
All things.
Go look at me and my picture on one of those a long, long time ago. I drove here with my colleague Kira. She is serving as an Excelsior Fellow right now through New York State. Really great program for a 2-year position that you guys can get in public service. We're thrilled to have Kira, and she went to UAlbany and received her master's degree last year, right?
Yes.
So I have worked for a lot of government levels, state government. I've worked for the city of New York, really interesting positions. When I graduated here in 1999, I went and worked in New York City. I got paid, ready? $28,000 a year to commute from Middletown, New York, if anybody knows where that is, 2 hours each way on a train to go to the city. It was insane, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. To get paid nothing, work really hard, and be around really incredible professionals. I started out doing public relations for the Attorney General's office and figured out that I really loved doing that. The pace, working with the media every day, doing press events, arguing with the media a little bit. You know, it's a give and a take, right? Really loved the job and decided that I would go back and get my master's degree at UAlbany, Rockefeller College of Public Affairs. I got an MPA degree, Public Administration. I call the MPA degree the MBA of the public sector. So if you're interested in public service, I think, you know, once you graduate, if you want to get professional experience, go for it. I think that's a great option, but I also would say to many of you, I think going on for a graduate degree and getting an MPA is really a great experience. If you want to be in politics, be in a state capital. That's another great thing. The relationships you're going to make, the people you're in classes with, are all people you're going to work with. I see every day. I was at, yesterday, my world, I work for the Thruway Authority. You've all been on the Thruway. Who has an Easy Pass? Anyone? Easy Pass? If not, why not? You're paying 75% more, or your parents are. But anyway, I work for the Thruway Authority, and we are lobbying and working with the legislature right now to pass legislation to protect highway workers. And part of what we did, and part of my job yesterday, was to host an event with about 60 people. We invited union officials, union leaders, who represent our workers and our employees. We had contractor associations, all these different folks speak about the importance of this law. The governor has proposed it. We're trying to get it passed, and we're trying to get the legislature to move and do this. So that was my day yesterday with 60 folks. I think it was a pretty good event. You know, we had really great attendance, got a lot of media coverage. I think every TV station in Albany was there. And so that's our effort to try to make this work zone safety, law real. So I would say to you guys, in your careers, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Kira and I were talking on the way over, right? And I was saying to her, be confident in what you do. Ask good questions so that you know as much as somebody else. I worked for the City Buildings Department in New York City. I would talk with there would be a building collapse, there would be a construction accident. I don't know anything about construction. I haven't worked in construction. But when I talked to my inspectors about when they were on scene, I'd ask a lot of questions. Well, what happened? What was it supposed to be? Well, what didn't work? We'd speculate, right? But it was all to get information. I had to play reporter almost with my own colleagues to get information from them, so that when I talked to a reporter, I had the best information that I could give, and I was confident in my delivery. Because if I sounded unsure, I think the media really was going to care, right? They're not going to listen to me. They'll just call somebody else, so they'll Google something and use what AI said, right? Whatever it was. But you had to be confident in your delivery. So those are my little pieces of advice for you now. Be confident, ask a lot of questions, be curious, and I look forward to talking to you more today.
I'm going to stand too. I didn't realize we were like giving advice and stuff. So hi everyone, Will Rivera here. I do want to say start off that I'm here to represent women and a movement that women have built to fight gender-based violence throughout this survivor justice work. So I do want to shout out to all the long-standing advocates, primarily women of color, who have really built this movement here in New York specifically. Shout out our state local agencies that we work very well together in pushing our agendas and survivor justice work. And I do want to shout out Coco, who is my student assistant here. I actually say student advocate, who has been assisting us in some of our grassroots movements. So I'm here today to really talk about a couple of things. One, I know y'all are supposed to be taking pictures with me, which is crazy. But if you want that picture, I need you to do one thing before you leave. Go to www.nyintoxicationisnotconsent.org. Hit the little green button as soon as you hit that website. It says share your voice now. Fill it out. Contact your representative. Send an email. Why I need you to do that? Because I need you to pass and help us pass an exclusion loophole. Right now, under New York, if I decided to have too much to drink at a night out, friends at a restaurant, I was walking down the street and I was sexually assaulted, I do not have access to justice. Why? Because there's a loophole codified under the New York penal law where that says, because I chose to drink under my own volition, I can't have access to justice because of my state of incapacitation, how I got there. So this is our 7th year trying to close the loophole. 7 years we've been trying to break this. It started out from a district attorney in Manhattan, Biaggi, who brought this up, and still hasn't passed. So we need your help to do that. But as we talk about democracy and political service, I'm also the managing director of My Own Image. We are a nationwide organization battling tech-facilitated violence. Right now we have 10 bills throughout the nation that's addressing these crimes, and what we're doing is combating these issues at the state level because federal laws are great, but those of us who've been doing this for a long time know that it's quicker to get things passed at the state level, and for the everyday victim, a federal law is not going to protect you, a state level action is going to. Typically we see federal level actions support the Taylor Swifts of this world, those who are celebrities, things like that. Why we founded My Own Image? Susanna Gibson, 3 years ago, was running for Senate in Virginia. She was doing great. She ran because she was fighting for reproductive justice. She was a nurse practitioner, knew nothing about policy, knew nothing about politics, but she wanted to make sure women had access to reproductive rights. She was doing great, really canvassing, killing the scene. $2 million she raised. No, never had experience, and she raised $2 million. Republicans shared her intimate images. They put in those little mailers that you get. Everyone got that in her area, in her district. Kids picked it up. Her family, her friends, her neighbors all saw her intimate images. She didn't give anyone consent to do that. The media went against her, said all sorts of things. She faced all sorts of misogyny. She broke Twitter. Twitter was down for 5 hours because they were trying to scrub her images. You would think Susanna is a well-known white woman, that she would get help federally. Nope. No one helped her. Local levels, no one reached out to her. The Democrats didn't even support her. She only lost, I want to say 10 points or very small percentages, but if the Republicans didn't share her violate her, like illegally share her intimate images, she may have won. But they did that because they had nothing else against her. So she founded My Own Image, where we're fighting these issues every day. Survivors are reaching out to us. What we're seeing right now is a lot of people who are interested in running for public service are contacting us because they're scared. They're scared of what happened to Susanna that's going to happen to them. In December, the Sunlight American Project released a report that said 26 Congress individuals had over 30,000 instances of non-consensual images shared of them, either authentic or AI generated. And this is an act against our democracy. These are tools to deter women primarily, even more black women and brown women, to not run, and so that Democrats aren't holding the seats. And so that's what we're fighting. We're fighting attack against democracy. We're fighting against the media weaponizing these leaked images, and we need your help. So what I need you to do, nyintoxicationisnotconsent.org, hit that up. Follow me on socials. I'm sure it'll be up here somewhere, because I do call to actions all the time. And when those are released, I need y'all who are interested in public service to help me out, because I can't be the only one advocating, or my group. Each one of us needs to do this, because it's our public service, it's our duty to practice our democracy, to support others, and just protect our neighbors, protect our family, protect our classmates. Appreciate your time.
And now we have lots of time for questions from the audience. Who would like to ask a question to start off with?
Are we running?
I mean, I don't know that we really need it. I mean, you guys can hold on to the microphone, but anyone want to start? I will just start with a question for Jasmine. I was just wondering, since you're working with the immigrant community, you started working before the latest Trump administration, who has come in with a very aggressive stance on immigration. I was just wondering how your work has changed.
Do you want me to unmute this?
Yeah, go ahead, use it.
So I had started working last July. Workflow was really calm, actually. We were having a few festivals, we were getting the community out, we were out hanging out, just doing like community stuff. We had like a lot of those planned. Right when November was coming, we did see a rise in tension between us as well as our members. After election, we just knew that we have to buckle down and take out our Know Your Rights information that we probably hadn't had to use for a very long time, revitalizing those, rereading policies, rereading travel policies, depending on immigration status, making sure whatever we have is updated information. So November was doing a lot of research and making sure we are giving out the right information to our allies and to our immigrant communities. Then when January came, we were flooded with requests for Know Your Rights. We've had at least since January, I think 60 plus Know Your Rights workshops, including going into schools, going into teaching teachers, parents, as well as businesses what to do, because we have many immigrants who are working in businesses, business owners being concerned of what are our rights, because it is a private entity, as well as soup kitchens and public areas as well, and just teaching everyone with what we can do with the Know Your Rights information. So we've been a little bit busy since the election. It's been a lot, as well as learning policy and learning what we have to do to keep ourselves safe. That human component of our emotions are also very high. The work that we do is very emotional. I am having to see, just last week we have family preparedness plans. For example, if a parent is being detained, what happens to that child? So you're having to plan giving someone who's a US citizen, and if you don't have someone here, you're giving them the legal right to go pick up your child, to pick up your security deposit, to pick up your banking information. And seeing that for a child who's 4 years old and another one that was 9, the mother coming in and saying I have an ICE check-in next week, I need to do this family preparedness plan because I don't know if I'm going to be coming home. And I need someone who's going to be picking up my children. So it is a lot of learning, and also being these are family, these are people who are here who came in the thoughts of wanting a better life, and now they're going to be torn apart and uprooted. So yes, it's been a lot.
And any other questions? I mean, if maybe you two want to also speak to how the new administration, or how, Jennifer, you've seen multiple administrations come in, and how your work changes, depending on who's in charge, I guess who's governor, but also who's in the presidency. And I know New York State has responded to this new environment.
Right. Every day, so I'm an appointee. I serve at the pleasure of the governor of New York State, but I work at an agency, a public authority. For us in New York State, I think the challenge really is every day. You'll see a statement come out from the governor about different, attacks on different funding pools. Listen, we in New York State get a lot of federal funding for a variety of reasons. We also contribute a lot of money to the federal government coffers, right, in terms of taxes. So for us, every day, I think the statement from the governor last night, as I read it, was something about $300 million in healthcare cuts. And it's not just healthcare the way you think of it traditionally. I think I was talking to my wife about she works for the Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, Ms. Will, and part of the work she does as general counsel there, it affects this $300 million might affect some of the grants that they're giving for Enough is Enough, which is a college, I think, this is not my world, anti-sexual assault campaign, right? And so that money from the federal government allows them to promote awareness on college campuses. What's the good of cutting that? I mean, I don't get it, and I don't want to be overly political here, and that can go down a rabbit hole. But I just want to say that a lot of these cuts have really meaning. So many of these cuts have so many meaningful stakeholders that are being affected, and we don't even know about all of them. We don't even know about half of them. So I think every day it's hard to see. For us, the Thruway Authority, again, to sit next to you guys and the work that you do is so serious. I work in transportation. It has its own component. I mean, roads, bridges, connectors, right? We help power the economy. Very different than human services work that's going on in both of your worlds. But still vital, right, to keep the economy going. We as an authority, we don't get any dedicated federal, state, or local funding. So you think, oh, good, we're all right. However, we get a lot of federal grants. We apply for them. They're competitive grants. They were very popular during the Biden administration. They did a lot of competitive grants for different components. It's helping us replace bridges. It's helping us redo our roadway. The Mario Cuomo Bridge, the old Tappan Zee Bridge, that's something, the project that we worked on. There were federal funds that, there was state funding that went toward that. So, but for the federal funding, we don't know what's going to happen to our grants. So we have to find the money somewhere else. This is a little microcosm, right, of what other agencies who have significant amounts of funding and just are being cut arbitrarily, seemingly, right? So it is a challenge, and also just imagine, you wake up today and you have a job, whether you work for the federal government, and you wake up today and maybe you don't have that job anymore. Maybe the entire department you work for is gone. I don't know. Where's the analysis? Where's the performance evaluation? Where do you determine what made sense, what didn't? It's a challenging time in government, and I think for our professors who've been studying so many aspects of government and social work and everything for so long, I think when you look at a lot of this, to me, there's no playbook anymore. There is no conventional wisdom that says, oh, this is how this used to happen, right? We sit and teach you guys every day in classrooms, like we teach history or we teach theories, and based on things that have happened. I think all of that is out the window, which is terrifying in some respects. So it creates a lot of anxiety, I would say.
So, the lapse in funding or the dismantling of the funding is really impacting all of the survivor justice work being done in New York. If you think about it, our domestic violence shelters, safe houses are going to be devastated with this impact. Many of the organizations who are supporting our advocacy are only geared towards one organization in the county. And so, those that are focusing on federal funding are going to lose that funding. But also beyond funding, we're seeing an erasure of identities. Some places are not using words that they're told they're not allowed to use. LGBTQ, diversity, advocacy, which is like literally my job, and sexual assault, rape. There's organizations here in New York that are advocacy organizations that are not using those terms, and which is sad and utterly terrible for survivors. Because when we needed advocacy organizations, now more than ever throughout the nation, to show up, especially the ones that have millions in unclassed funding, they didn't. They chose money over their values, which I understand are hard choices, but as the grassroots advocate, in me, knows what survivors want to see. And so those are big impacts regarding the survivor justice world. Many long-term grants that were typically always announced around this time through the Office of Violence Against Women have been gone. They're no longer up. The RFPs are taken away. And so I was planning on applying for many of those, and now we can't. So right now, all the work that I'm doing, here in New York and at my own image, pro bono. Technically, I'm unemployed and don't get paid for anything. So if y'all know anyone hiring, please let me know. But I wouldn't have any other way, because I think right now the universe needed me to be unemployed. Because I can be unhinged. I can talk about whatever I want. And I can fight for the work that needs to be done. And I know, people, it is funny, but we are worried. Those of us out there who are very outspoken, we are worried. We have expungement teams that we've created. We've created processes, when any of us get arrested, things like that. And being a, brown vocal man, I'm even worried about that. And just so we all know, there were unconfirmed reports that ICE was here 2 days ago in Oneonta on Academy Street. So, they're here, it is worrying, but it's definitely impactful.
Great. So I think a lot of everything that you guys are talking about has a lot to do with me. I mean, I'm from New York City. I have an easy pass. I drive all the time. Fresh new driver, by the way. But me and Jasmine, we did Model UN, Model EU together, and it's amazing that she's doing immigrant work because I came here as an immigrant before I got my U.S. citizenship. And I'm working with Will Against Sexual Violence, and as a person who's experienced sexual violence before, it's amazing that all of you guys are doing things that affect me. So I just want to know, what's the coolest thing you've done at your job so far?
I love it.
I'll let you go first. Go for it.
You got the mic.
Come on, Will.
Coolest or one of the top 3
You are being
coolest?
recorded.
I guess, I did have on my bucket list to be in a picture with Governor Hochul, and I had the pleasure of doing that with her not once but twice, even on live TV last year. So that was on my to-do list, so I was very excited about that. So I guess that was very cool. But I think, one of the most meaningful things for me is a couple of months ago, my daughter came to me and she said, Dad, so-and-so said something at school that they fled from a situation in California. And I said to them, hey, my dad does that if you ever need help. And so I was like, that's what I need to be doing, is instilling grassroots advocacy, not only with my children, my child, but everyone, my community. Just building this massive network of individuals who want to do service and be of service for positive impact.
All right. I'll take that in a few buckets. Coolest thing professionally that I've ever done. If you've been over the Mario Cuomo Bridge, it's a $4 billion bridge that my organization, the Thruway Authority, built. I have been to almost one of the top of the towers on an exterior construction scaffolding that connected them. And what's really neat about it is that bridge is going to be there longer than any of us and our kids. I mean, it's going to be there for generations. And my kids see that. I have 14-year-old twins. They call the bridge my bridge. That is Mom's bridge, not just the Mario Cuomo Bridge. It's Mom's bridge. But to be a part of a project that has such a generational impact, even a transportation project like that, it leaves a lasting impression for generations. And I think it really changed an area, and it really improved what was a rougher ride before. Let's just say it that way, right? You're from the city, you get it. So to be a part of a team, I would say that too. Like I was mentioning before, the softball team. I think there are so many intangibles in life and in your college experience that really sort of guide you. I talk about being the team mentality all the time in my job today. Being on the team to build that bridge, being on a softball team. I played softball probably for 30 years. It was so much a part of my life. And I bring that mentality to my team back at the Thruway Authority in the press office. Everything we do is that team effort. I don't care whether you're sports teams or whatever, a team it's really a flexible term, right? So that's pretty cool stuff for me, to really motivate people every day. I think it's fun. The professors here have been very kind to invite me and to talk to students. I don't get to do that. I talk to adults all day, all the time. So the energy that all of you bring and the attentiveness and the way that you even just showed up today to listen to us, share our experiences, I think that's really cool, all that stuff.
After thinking some time, one of the coolest things I would say for me is working when you're in public sector. It's fun to obviously work for public government and do the local work, but it's also really nice to challenge it. if you know me, I really like challenges. One of the coolest thing I think I could say I did was going to the governor's office and the chambers and making noise and demanding the unemployment bridge to be put into the floor to be discussed. This program is supposed to make sure those who are unemployed or who are freelancers that they have a safety net. As you've been hearing, that many people are losing jobs left and right. And what happens to those who don't have that safety net, who are immigrants or who are freelance workers? How are they going to be supported in this time? Because jobs are being taken from them right under their feet. So being able to protest and create signs and take immigrant families and communities with us to Albany, driving up there and going to the Capitol building, walking in knowing that this is my right, like I can walk through these doors because we have elected those people who are here, who are going to be having a meeting in 45 minutes. And I'm going to make sure that they can hear me from the downstairs chambers to where they are, and that I'm demanding the unemployment bridge to be discussed because we can't leave anyone behind. But yeah, I guess that's one of the coolest things I've done. And going hand in hand with that, I've also have been doing training and understanding what will happen if I do get arrested for the things that I do. So as much as it sounds scary, it also sounds kind of cool. Like I am exercising my free will and freedom of speech, of course, but also being like, okay, some of these things do have, medical conditions for the things that I do. But I'm happy to do it.
Just wanted to follow up really quick from that. So if anyone from here or in general wants to experience what Jasmine just talked about, going to Albany to disrupt, let me know. I'm there. Yes, let us know. I'm happy to show you how to do it and why and the ways of doing it. Do it a lot as a lobbyist and advocate. But it's not as scary as it sounds like. Public officials are there for you, especially if you're from their constituency. And just like a quick little tidbit, all of us here are technically in this area, but your local assembly member has not supported A101. And so that could be something for you all to call. So that would be Assembly Brian Miller, who has not supported that. So if you want to go to Albany, let me know, let Coco know, because we've been talking about doing that. And also there's another Hartwick student with Assemblymember De Los Santos, and that we've been talking about.
And Amelia has a question. Do you want to use the microphone or you just want to?
I can talk loud. Yeah, so I think my question is about finding your voice, and it's a two-part question. So as advocates, I know for myself personally, I found my voice doing a lot of advocacy work. I had a 2-week-long Know Your Rights tabling outside of comms, and then I've also been to a lot of protests surrounding women's rights and empowerment, because women's rights. But I think that, so I guess, how do you think that the work that you do has allowed you to find your voice? But also, how do you think that your perspectives and own personal biases have not prohibited, but sometimes I feel like when we go into certain situations with personal biases, those can sometimes stop the advocacy work or be barriers to trying to advocate for the people who we're advocating for because of those personal biases. So I guess the first part of the question is, how have you found your voice doing your work, and how have you made the conscious effort to separate self from work and ensuring that your personal biases aren't affecting the work that we do?
That's a very compounded question. Appreciate that. So listen, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I am a first-gen student from the Lower East Side, Manhattan, Alfred E. Smith Projects, LES. Sorry, I threw it up always. Listen, it's ingrained in me. I come from a family of felons. I always say, one issue away from being in financial distress and, potentially arrested. And so I own that though, right? But that experience is who I am. And I came up to college, upstate New York, graduated from SUNY Indiana. This was in my environment, right? And for so long professionally, I worked here at Opportunities for Eagle for a very long time, doing direct service work, program managing, all that stuff. And I didn't have a voice, honestly. I felt like my voice wasn't authentic. And it took me a very long time and many experiences to find my authentic self. And so my authentic self is who you see today, rocking suits with Jordans or just like showing up in a t-shirt and jeans. And because my value, what my experiences, doesn't matter how I look, how I sound, what I'm wearing, and those things don't make me who I am. But it took me a long time to find my voice, to be my authentic self. And so I do always say to everyone when I talk, is that be your authentic self when you can. I know it's not always safe to do that, but I want y'all all to know that those barriers are there for you to overcome, and happy to help anyone through that. As far as biases, I think my experiences always bring out the work, why I do the work. Again, I saw many injustices. I've lived through poverty. I've been homeless, and I've seen what happens in our neighborhoods. And I bring that with me and why all the time. And then I always, my work is centered on survivor voices, always. And so I don't come here and say I'm the expert. I just know my truths, and my truths are based from what survivors have told me or allow me to experience with them. And so as we move forward or we develop new policies, new programs, I don't ever want the ones to be there. I want to bring survivors to those spaces and let them do it. Pay, please, please pay survivors. And I want them to be the ones doing it, not me, because I don't have those experiences. They do. And so many times I see places, organizations, executives or whatever, show up, put the survivors downstairs, which has happened before, and they're the ones at the table. And that should never be the case. And it'll never happen with me, or I will never allow it to happen.
The first part was how do we channel our voices? I guess for me, my parents are immigrants. I've seen them struggle. Many of my friends, community members are immigrants, so seeing the struggle and understanding has been a very big aspect of who I am. But I would also like to take a moment and appreciate, there are moments in your life where you do feel like you don't have a voice and you're not sure who you are. And it's really important to surround yourself with people and activities where it is exhilarating, where you are feeling like yourself, you are around friends, you are around professors in many cases who are affirming what you believe is true and what you believe is correct. Because many times we could fall into tunnels and you might feel like, am I right? Am I doing what I'm thinking is right? Is this correct for what I'm thinking? And, but just making sure that you are true to yourself and being around those who affirm those beliefs that you have within you. And as terms of biases, it's really hard to walk away from biases, but again, like you were saying, those are the things that amplify your voices because of your stories, because it's firsthand stories that you've seen, that you've experienced. They amplify the action that you're working towards. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Our work is so interesting. I mean, I'm loving sitting next to both of you and listening to this, and my world is just so different, right? I mean, I work with engineers, we build stuff, and it's just a really different dynamic. So I'm gonna skew a little. I love what you both said, but I'm gonna talk about leadership. I think my voice is being a leader. I don't know how I got here really. I used my voice clearly, right? And I was confident, and I asked questions, and I tried to learn, but I also wanna motivate people. Right? As a leader, I think there's so many intangible qualities. You all know it. You know someone in your life right now who you admire, you look at, and maybe they model behavior that you're like, yeah, I like that. You might also see things you don't like about them, right? I will suggest to you, log that away too. I've worked 25 years in the public sector. I've had great bosses, but good bosses, and I've had bad bosses, right? And we won't talk about who they are because we're recording, but we will talk about, and I definitely have to make sure as a leader, I took things away from the people that I thought were bad bosses, and I locked it away and I said, I am never going to be that kind of leader. I am never going to be that kind of supervisor or boss because I knew how it felt. I remember I worked in New York City, worked in Lower Manhattan one time. My boss said something to me. I literally, there were no cell phones at the time. I went to a payphone on the city of New York and called my mother crying, because I was so mad about this boss. And I logged it away. And I'm never gonna do a few things the way that person treated me. Because I think leadership is also like effusive, right? I mean, when you're around someone who has great leadership qualities, you're like, oh, I like that. It makes you feel good and it motivates you. So I guess that's what I would say on my front is leadership, you find it in all ways. Whether, it's the fraternity, the sorority, the softball team, there's so many different places to find leadership and to just keep logging away the things that you like about people. And definitely log things you don't like and make sure you don't repeat those things. Because I think we're seeing a lot of bad behavior on both sides of the aisle right now and on a lot of fronts, particularly in Washington. And we can be better than that. And we can be better leaders. And you guys are the future, right? So that's what I would say about, to me, I love what you guys said because of your jobs and your interests. But for me, it's really about leadership, and that's helped me find my voice.
I feel like public service, while it's like an occupation, takes up a lot of mental and emotional energy, like a lot of brain space. I've read the news now every day for like 2 months, and I have a hard time with that. So how do you guys escape from that, like when you're not at work, or just how do you take a break?
As a previous poli-sci student, yeah, it's really, really hard. Sometimes you just have to not look at the news. And just taking a moment and being like, all right, let me just go outside. It really comes down to finding your people, those who believe in what you believe in, who are going to pick you up, because we can fall into that tunnel and like thinking like, oh my God, everything's hopeless, like there's no point, like we have such horrible things going on, but like you can always start through conversations, like being in certain spaces and having conversation, like those things can help you feel better, and those things do help you realize like, okay, what you do believe in is true, what you do believe in is right. As for me with the work that I do know my phone, I have 2 work phones. My work sometimes does not turn off. It could range from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. And if there is an ice raid, I will have to go. And I will show up to that location regardless of where it is. So sometimes it is very hard for me to step away from the work that I do. It's even harder when you see family or something that resonates with you. It takes a lot from you. But definitely being around family and friends and going outside really, really helps. And just taking a moment and seeing like there are other pieces in the world that you should be taking a moment to appreciate, as well as, there are horrible pieces as well.
You want me to answer too?
Yeah.
Listen, I am a terrible example, so I shouldn't really answer this question. But here locally, I oversaw 2 24/7 shelters for years, and responded to issues 24/7. So I honestly work all the time, but I'm built very differently, and so I think it's a lot of resiliency from my childhood experiences. But I want to say your feelings are absolutely normal, and it's okay to step away and not read the newspaper. Know that there are people always doing the work, right? So if you need to step away, there are people doing the work still, and so it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to do that. And it's okay to not work 24/7. I highly always encourage that to everyone. Don't follow me. I am a terrible example. I try to make sure I'm not sending emails, I'm not texting or calling. If it's not an emergency or things like that. But I've seen some crazy stuff. And my job is to be on the internet all day, unfortunately. Finding all of these crazy things. So it doesn't end. But all those feelings are okay. Step away, fall on your team, and just turn around.
Agree with all of that. I would say exercise too. A run never feels so good as when I just have to throw my headphones on, and I'm terrible at running. I hate it. I'm going to say to all of you, I literally went on a run once and I was like, I'd rather be smoking, and I'm not a smoker. I'm not kidding. I was like, this is awful, but it really offered me a space, to be in my own head, and to not be scrolling on Twitter or X, whatever it is, in social media, and The scroll is awful, and try teaching 14-year-olds that. You can't, I try to model that behavior for them. So I think exercise is really important. I also just think, you're right, like detach. Like if you have the opportunity, just kind of put it away. I love fresh air, I love to hike, I love to go to beautiful places. It's really awesome to be back here. When I was a college student, I did not appreciate any of this. Not at all. And you come back here and you see the beauty and the views and all this, and you're like, wow, Hartwick is really stunning. So find the things that make you happier. I try to play golf. I'm not good, so that doesn't always work. But again, it's just, to me, it's more social. Find your happy people. Spend time with them. Try not to talk about politics or the things that anger you too, just for a few minutes. Okay? Just because it's exhausting otherwise. It is totally exhausting.
We have time for one more question. Your comment?
Yeah, Jennifer started to address my question in her introductory remarks, but I'm just wondering, what advice would you have to young people who are interested in a career in public service? And maybe specifically, like, what are some things that they could be doing now in college that would help improve their job prospects for a career in public service?
I'll just start because I have the mic. I think internships and the Institute is really all about that, right? Just volunteer opportunities. Try it all out. Dip your toe in the water in a lot of places, because you're going to like some and you're not going to like some. Maybe, local government, town government isn't for you, but maybe something else, advocacy, really works. Maybe you have something that you're passionate about and you want to just volunteer. See how you can get in, how you can just start to experience that. Do it now. Literally, I think any internship, any volunteer opportunity you can get really helps inform you and helps you down the road to decide, where do you want to put more energy to? That's pretty straightforward for me.
I agree with what you say, but I also know sometimes it can be very overwhelming, when you are trying to network and get to know people. We sometimes get so busy and thinking oh my god, what's my elevator pitch gonna be, and am I gonna execute it the proper way? Only because I was doing that literally a year ago. Sometimes it's okay to just listen to them talk. Just listen to what they, the experiences that they've done, whether they're talking about their master's experience or if they've done it. And just listening to their experience, sometimes just taking that away. You don't have to get an internship with them or where they're working. Just hearing their experience has also been very helpful. To be oh, they took a different approach. They didn't go right away into law school, or oh, they went into law school and did everything actually right, one after another. They were okay with that. So seeing which one you're okay with and which resonates with you best, especially in that moment in your life. Because we could be saying something right now, and many of you are juniors, and you'll be a year later would be completely different for what resonates with you. But definitely building relationships and just talking to people. It doesn't have to be about getting an internship. It doesn't have to be about political science. It could be just getting to genuinely know each other and building it off of that. So yeah.
So I will say, you are not going to graduate and know what your whole life path is. Let's be honest, it's not going to happen. Life is going to throw you curveballs. You're going to go through ups and downs, but that's life, right? It's a reminder of why we're human. And I can go into detail of all the craziness I've been through, but you are not going to, find your dream job, today or tomorrow, but experience it. But make sure you're always happy. Find what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy, right? If you have the opportunity to do that, I highly encourage it. Tomorrow isn't granted, so freaking kill it today, and leave it all at the table every day. And just do what makes you happy. And then as far as the internships and things like that, I do want to highlight not everyone has that opportunity, because some of us have to work multiple jobs to get us through college and our education. And so other ways to navigate that again is volunteering, just researching and looking into other places, and just do what makes you happy. Don't go for the money. Been there, done that. It's not worth it. Just be happy.
Excellent.